Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Last video I went over my way too early predictions for the Eastern Conference standings, so fittingly it's now time for the Western Conference edition. Hopefully this part 2 comes out in a timely manner. Anyways, let's get right into it. Be sure to like, subscribe, all the other YouTube stuff, blah blah blah. At number 1, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder repeating as the 1 seed with a record of 56-26. You can be high on some team like the Denver Nuggets or Minnesota Timberwolves and think they could be the 1 seed. That's not an unreasonable expectation to have, but realistically I would be surprised if OKC is not the 1 seed. Like I said, they already were the 1 seed last year, and not only is this very young team a year older and more experienced, but they also replaced Josh Giddey with Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. This team is super talented. Everybody can space the floor, they have very diverse skill sets on the floor, and if Chet Holmgren or J-Dub can take another leap this season, they might not just be the 1 seed, but even the favorites to represent the West in the NBA Finals. At number 2, I have the Dallas Mavericks at 53-29. The Mavs had not had a top 3 record in the West in the Luka Doncic era. They've usually been around the 4 to 5 seed range, but I think this team is going to be extra hungry to win it this year. Luka Doncic missed out on the Olympics, and coming off of his first finals appearance, I think he's going to really be motivated to win it all. Kyrie Irving was inconsistent in the playoffs, but we know he's still an amazing player. And you got Klay Thompson hungry to prove that he's still a winner after pretty much being politely escorted out of Golden State. They also made some great signings around the edges, adding Quentin Grimes and Najee Marshall on the wings, and their center rotation of Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford just pounds you with non-stop energy for 48 minutes a game. This team does not have any obvious weaknesses in my opinion, and I would not be surprised seeing them play in June again. At number 3, I've got the Minnesota Timberwolves at 51-31. This team just made the Western Conference Finals last year, and there's no reason to believe they got worse. They're largely running the same team back, pretty much just bringing in Rob Dillingham and Joe Ingles as some bench pieces. You are beginning to worry about Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert slowing down with age, and I think we will start to see that this year. Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, and their defense will still get them a record of 51-31 though, but I don't expect another Western Conference Finals appearance in 2025. At number 4, I have the New Orleans Pelicans at 50-32. Yes, ahead of the Denver Nuggets. Maybe I'm still overrating DeJounte Murray like I did in Atlanta, but on paper the fit in New Orleans is amazing. DeJounte Murray can have more of an on-ball role without a ball hog like Trae Young, and both he and CJ are capable of operating off-ball when needed. Assuming a healthy Zion Williamson and a motivated Brandon Ingram trying to earn his next contract, I would not be surprised if this team overperforms. The only obvious issue, and it is a big issue, is the center position. It might be their rookie Yves Missy or Daniel Tice at the starting position, but I assume they're going to make a trade when contracts become movable in mid-December, so assuming that they can fix this issue of the center position, they can be a top 4 team in the Western Conference. I also have the Denver Nuggets at 50-32, but I guess I will put them at number 5 due to a tiebreaker or something. They still have the best player in the world, but the team is thinning around him. In back-to-back seasons, they have lost Bruce Brown and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Their rookie Deron Holmes, who is expected to have a rotational role too, tore his Achilles in Summer League, so this team is just continuously thinning. They still have Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., and Jamal Murray, which is what keeps them as a 50-win team when you combine that with Nikola Jokic, and this is definitely a team that is still to be feared in the playoffs. But I don't expect a top 3 regular season finish from the Nuggets, especially with Jokic tired after a deep Olympics run with Serbia. I went back and forth for hours on who to put at number 6. 6th place is a big deal in the modern NBA because that means you avoid the play-in tournament. The team that I decided on was the Phoenix Suns at 48-34. Before free agency, I likely would have had them on the outside looking into the top 6, but acquiring Monte Morris and Tyus Jones to help run this superstar-studded offense is huge. This brings defensive concerns if you're starting a lineup of Tyus Jones, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Yusuf Nurkic. Do either of those point guards start? Maybe it's Grayson Allen in the starting lineup. Devin Booker is apparently a much improved defender, according to Steve Kerr in the Olympics, so that's good news. They also picked up Mason Plumlee as a backup center. I would have liked to see them target a shot blocker like Bismack Biyombo or something, but Mason Plumlee is still a serviceable backup. They do have defenders off the bench, with rookie Ryan Dunn, Nasir Little, Josh Okogie, etc. It's going to be very difficult for Mike Budenholzer to figure out these rotations, but the talent is there, so if he finds the right lineups, the Suns can be scary and can get a top 6 seed in the Western Conference. So unfortunately, falling to number 7, also at 48 and 34, is the Memphis Grizzlies. Obviously, just about everything went wrong from the Grizzlies last year. Ja Morant was suspended and then injured, Marcus Smart was injured, Desmond Bane was injured, Brandon Clark was injured. Pretty much no one played a full season. This year, the Grizzlies hope to be fully healthy, and they have a pretty good roster. My huge concern with them, though, is the over-reliance on Zach Edey. Triple J will obviously play some backup 5, maybe Brandon Clark too, although he's undersized. But besides that, Edey is pretty much the only center on the roster. And that's the reason I had to drop them down. If he gets injured or just isn't that good playing against NBA talent, it could be rough for the Grizz. At number 8, I have the Sacramento Kings at 45 and 37. The addition of DeMar DeRozan definitely improves their talent level, but offense was not really their problem, and that's mostly what DeMar DeRozan provides. It's pretty obvious, and I've said it in previous videos, but defense is their large problem. DeMar DeRozan and Domantas Sabonis playing 30-plus minutes a game does not scream a good defense for the season. In terms of defensive rating, they actually were decent last year, but that didn't really pass the eye test in my opinion. And in 2023, their rankings were awful. I think they're going to get off to a bit of a slow start, with DeMar DeRozan adjusting to his role in Sacramento, and I think they're going to miss Devin Carter and his defense for the first part of the season. This is still a great team, they just happen to be in an unbelievably stacked Western Conference, so I think they're going to finish in 8th place. It's better than last year at least, though. At number 9, I have the Los Angeles Lakers at 42 and 40. I truly believe this is LeBron's last year in the NBA, and although the team is still solid, they didn't improve in any meaningful way. I don't think the Lakers front office wants to leverage their future for one last chance with LeBron. They still do have the flexibility with the contracts of D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves, so maybe they do make a deal, but I don't know. Drafting Dalton Knecht was nice, it just doesn't make them an immediate contender, and Bronny James sure as hell ain't helping them out this year. And the final play-in tournament spot is going to go to the Houston Rockets at 41 and 41. I think the Rockets jump over some more experienced teams like the Clippers and the Warriors, and they get their first microscopic taste of postseason basketball. Alperen Sengun is one more jump away from being an all-star caliber player, and Jalen Green showed all-star flashes in the latter half of 2024. Reed Shepherd looks like he can play a role right away too. He dominated in Summer League. They still have tons of young talent like Jabari Smith Jr., Cam Whitmore, Amen Thompson, and solid veteran pieces like Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, Steven Adams, and old man Jeff Green. Assuming they get some jumps from the guys and like half of their young talent, this team feels good enough to sneak into the play-in tournament. At number 11, I have the Golden State Warriors, just missing the play-in tournament with a record of 40 and 42. If they'd acquired Lauri Markkanen, maybe I would have them higher, but he just signed his extension, so it looks like Golden State is rocking with this team for 2025. Their offseason was fine. They replaced Klay Thompson with Buddy Hield, DeAnthony Melton, and Kyle Anderson. The good news for Warriors fans, though, is at least you still have a future when Steph retires. 2 years ago, I thought the Warriors were going to enter some dark times when Steph retired, but now you have young talent like Brandon Podziemski, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Trace Jackson Davis. Not a bad group of young talent. The Warriors could always start the season well and be aggressive buyers at the deadline, but I just don't see them as on the same level of some of these other teams in the Western Conference. You could easily put them at number 10 over the Houston Rockets just because they don't have a star like Steph Curry, but unfortunately this feels like about the right spot for them. Next, I have the San Antonio Spurs at number 12 with a record of 39 and 43. I think they're going to be a bit better than what Vegas says next year, and I could see them making a play-in tournament push. I just think they're still probably 1 year and a little bit more talent away though. Victor Wembanyama is going to have an amazing year, probably making an all-star, maybe even an all-NBA team with Chris Paul at the helm. Harrison Barnes was a nice addition to keep them competitive, and he rounds out their starting lineup nicely. But I think they need to give Stephon Castle a year to develop behind Chris Paul before they're truly competing for the playoffs. You pair up Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Wemby, some other veteran pieces, and one more lottery pick in 2025, and I think they could do some real damage. At number 13, I have the Los Angeles Clippers at 38-44. No, I didn't forget about them. This is just where I believe the Clippers are going to finish in the first season post Paul George. Unfortunately, I just can't count on a healthy Kawhi Leonard or James Harden season. If one of them gets injured, this team is going to have a hard time winning against 80% of the teams in the NBA. Derrick Jones Jr. is a nice complimentary piece. He was a good free agency signing, but he's not going to will this team to more wins or anything like that. It just sucks. I was so high on this team 5 years ago. They were my pick to win the championship in 2020, but it just never worked out. If James Harden and Kawhi Leonard are magically healthy all year, they're definitely competing for a playoff spot, but I just can't put that in good conscience in my projections. At number 14, I have the Utah Jazz at 26-56. They might do the thing that they've done for the last 2 seasons. They're going to start off the season fine, then realize, nope, we don't need to get the 10th seed. They're going to try to drop to 13th or 14th in the standings and get a lottery pick and compete for Cooper Flag. They re-signed Lauri Markkanen, and he cannot be traded this season, so he's going to get them some wins. They have some other pieces like Walker Kessler, Keontae George, and Colin Sexton, but it's not enough for them to actually compete. I think they're going to be sellers at the deadline too, trading guys like Jordan Clarkson, which will spiral them to a very poor second half of the season. And finally, at number 15, I have the Portland Trail Blazers, to nobody's shock, with a record of 22-60. Now, I must admit, I do like what they did this offseason. I think Denny Avila is very underrated and could be a piece for the future for a Blazers team that doesn't have much young wing talent. Donovan Clingan was a great selection in the draft. He's obviously not going to be a 30-10 guy for his career, but I see him putting up a really solid 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks for his career. In my opinion, I think they have one more really bad year in them. They need to figure out the point guard and the center logjam here. You don't need all 3 of DeAndre Ayton, Clingan, and Time Lord, and you don't need all 3 of Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, and Anthony Simons. You sell one guy from each group at the deadline for picks, a young forward, whatever you think you need, and I think you're off to a good start in this post-Damian Lillard rebuild. So, those are my way too early predictions for the Western Conference standings. Let me know if you agree with these predictions, what you would change, etc. Even if you hate my predictions, leave a comment, it's good for the YouTube algorithm. Next video will probably be my award predictions for 2025, so stay tuned for that. This is the Sports Ball Network, signing off.